As the cleanup continues, we will offer whatever additional resources and assistance our coastal states may need.
No, you won't. They've asked and you haven't.
Mobilization of this speed and magnitude will never be perfect, and new challenges will always arise.
Weren't you playing golf on
I saw
Sunday?
and heard evidence of that during this trip. So if something isn't working, we want to hear about it. If there are problems in the operation, we will fix them.
Sure.
But we have to recognize that despite our best efforts, oil has already caused damage to our coastline and its wildlife. And sadly, no matter how effective our response is, there will be more oil and more damage before this siege is
See how he
done.
just spent the first 3 minutes
That's
telling
why
us how wonderful he's
the
been?
second thing we're focused on is the recovery and restoration of the Gulf Coast.
Yes.
You know, for generations, men and women who call this region home have made their living from the water. That living is now in jeopardy. I've talked to shrimpers and fishermen who don't know how they're going to support their families this year.
Oh, the nice touch.
I've seen
now.
empty docks and restaurants with fewer customers, even in areas where the beaches are not yet affected.
Yes.
I've talked to owners of shops and hotels who wonder when the tourists might start coming back.
Yep.
The sadness and the anger they feel is not just about the money they've lost.
This is the populism
It's
stuff.
about a wrenching anxiety that their way of life may be lost. I refuse to let that happen.
Okay, cool.
Tomorrow, I will meet with the chairman of BP and inform him that he is to set aside whatever resources are required to
I thought you said
compensate
you're
the
going to
workers
make sure it doesn't
and business
happen.
owners who have been harmed
That's
as
the
a result
chairman
of
of
this company's
BP?
recklessness. And this fund will not be controlled by BP.
Oh.
In order to ensure that all legitimate claims are paid out in a fair and timely manner, the account must and will be administered
Mayor
by
Daley
an
going to control it?
independent
Who?
third party.
And who would that be?
Beyond compensating the people of the Gulf in the short term,
Yeah.
it's also clear we need a long-term plan to restore the unique beauty and bounty of this region.
Yes. Taxes.
The oil spill represents just the latest blow to a place that's already suffered multiple economic disasters and decades of environmental degradation that has led to disappearing wetlands and habitats. And the region still hasn't recovered from Hurricanes Katrina and Rita.
Yes.
That's why we must make a commitment to the Gulf Coast that goes beyond responding to the crisis of the moment.
Energy, I got it.
I make that commitment tonight. Earlier, I asked Ray Mapes, the Secretary of the Navy, who's also a former governor of Mississippi and a son of the Gulf Coast, to develop a long-term Gulf Coast restoration plan as soon as possible.
So full of crap.
The plan will be designed by states, local communities, tribes, fishermen, businesses, conservationists, and other Gulf residents.
Wow.
And BP will pay for the impact this spill has had on the region.
So BP's in charge again.
The third part of our response plan is the steps we're taking to ensure
So far, what are the first two?
this does not happen again.
Oh, I know. What will do?
A few
No
months
oil
ago,
drilling.
I approved a proposal to consider new, limited offshore drilling under the assurance that it would be absolutely safe.
Yes.
That the proper technology would be
You were
in
lied
place
to.
and the necessary precautions would be taken.
But that's over. That's
that
different.
obviously was not the case in the
Can't do that anymore.
Deepwater
No,
Horizon
no.
rig.
No.
And I want to know why.
Bring out the propellers.
The American people deserve to know why.
Why what?
The families I met with last week who lost their loved ones in the
It's about time you met with them. We've been
These
talking
families
about those
deserve
poor
to
folks
know
for a
why.
month.
And so I've established a national commission to understand the causes of this disaster
Where
and
are these
offer
commissions
recommendations
meeting?
on what additional safety and environmental standards we need to put in place.
Yes, more government.
Already
We've got to
I've
have
issued
more
a 6-month
government.
moratorium on deepwater drilling.
Well done.
I know this
All
creates
those
difficulty for the people who
lost
work on
jobs.
these rigs.
Yes.
But for the sake of their safety and for the sake of the entire region,
Oh, it's
we
for the
need to
sake of
know
the people.
facts before we allow deepwater drilling to continue.
I'm annoying myself.
And while I urge the Commission to complete its work as quickly as possible, I expect them to do that work thoroughly and impartially.
Yes, sir.
And one place we've already begun to take action
What's your fourth
is
point?
at the agency in charge of regulating drilling and issuing permits,
Oh.
known as the Minerals Management Service.
Who's going to run that?
Over the last
Maybe a
decade,
lawyer?
this agency has become emblematic of a failed philosophy
For the
that
last
views all
decade.
regulation with hostility.
Yes.
A philosophy that says corporations should be allowed to play by their own
That's
rules
it.
and
The
police
free market
themselves.
did this. That's right.
At this agency, industry insiders were put in charge of industry oversight. Oil companies showered regulators.
Wait a minute. The head of that agency was an environmentalist, and you appointed her, genius.
Safety inspections and write their own regulations.
Really? Right.
And when Ken Salazar became my Secretary of the Interior,
one
of his very first acts was to clean up the worst of the corruption at this agency.
What a man that
But it's
Salazar.
now clear that the problem there ran much deeper.
Had that boot on their throat from day one.
Was just too slow. And so Secretary Salazar and I are bringing in new leadership at the agency.
Yes.
Michael Bromwich, who was a tough federal prosecutor and Inspector General.
Exactly.
His charge over the next few months is to build an organization that acts as the oil industry's watchdog, not its partner.
Yes.
So one of the lessons we've learned from this spill is that we need better regulations, better safety standards, and better enforcement when it comes to offshore drilling.
Yes, more government.
But a larger lesson is that no matter how much we improve our regulation of the industry,
it's never enough.
Drilling for oil these days entails greater risk.
So we will regulate it and destroy it.
After all, oil is a finite resource.
Yes.
We consume more than 20% of the world's oil, but have less than 2% of the world's oil reserves.
That's right.
And that's part of the reason oil companies are drilling a mile beneath the surface of the ocean.
No, you're pushing them
out there. That's why they're doing it. Because we're running out of places to drill on land and in shallow water.
Yes.
For decades, we have known the days of cheap and easily accessible oil were numbered.
So tax it.
For decades, we've talked and talked about the need to end America's...
That's all you ever do is talk and talk and talk.
And for decades, we have failed to act with the sense of urgency.
The only reason I'm doing this is to listen to myself. You think I want to listen to you? No.
Has been blocked, not only by oil industry lobbyists, but also by a lack of political courage and candor. The
Obama agenda, I mean, people are blocking it all over the place.
Countries like China are investing in clean energy jobs and industries.
No, they're not. They're drilling right off our shore, you dummy.
Each day, we send nearly $1 billion of our wealth to foreign countries.
That's it. We'll be more like China.
And today, as we look to the Gulf, we see an entire way of life being threatened by a menacing cloud of black crude.
Global warming.
We cannot consign our children to this
carbon dioxide.
The tragedy unfolding on our coast is the most painful and powerful reminder yet that the time to embrace a clean energy future is now.
What has happened to my country?
Now is the moment for this generation to embark on a national mission.
A knucklehead like this. I got to sit here and listen to a knucklehead like this. What's happened to my country?
This is not some distant vision for America.
No.
The transition away from fossil fuels
around the corner
is going to take some time. But over the last year and a half, we've already taken unprecedented action to jumpstart the clean energy industry.
You're unbelievable.
As we speak, old factories are reopening to produce wind turbines.
No, they're not.
People are going back to work installing energy-efficient windows.
That 10%.
Small businesses.
What the hell are you talking about?
Consumers are buying more efficient cars and trucks.
Yeah, right.
And families are making their homes more energy efficient.
You did it. Congratulations.
Scientists and researchers are discovering clean energy technologies that someday will lead to entire new industries. Each of us has a part to play in a new future that will benefit all of us.
Yes, what should we do?
As we recover from this recession, the transition to clean energy has the potential to grow our economy and create millions of jobs. But only if we accelerate that transition.
What should we do?
What should we do? We seize the moment.
What are you going to do? Taxes?
Only if we rally together and act as one nation. Workers and entrepreneurs, scientists and citizens, the public and private sectors. You know, when I was a candidate for this office, I laid out a set of principles that would move our country towards energy independence.
Oh, yes, you were something.
Last year, the House of Representatives acted on these principles by passing a strong and comprehensive energy and climate bill. A bill that finally makes clean energy the profitable kind of energy for America's businesses. Now, there are costs associated with this transition.
Tax time,
and there's some who believe that we can't afford those costs right now.
No, of course we can't.
I say we can't afford not to change.
Yes, what a turn of a phrase. I love it.
Because long-term costs to our economy, our national security, and our environment are far greater.
Right. More spending.
So I'm happy to look at other ideas and approaches from either party.
And,
as they seriously tackle our addiction to fossil fuels.
As long as they involve big government.
Some have suggested raising efficiency standards in our buildings, like we did in our cars and trucks. Some believe we should set standards to ensure that more of our electricity comes from wind and solar power.
Yeah, some believe the earth is flat.
Others wonder why the energy industry only spends a fraction of what the high-tech industry does on research and development. and want to rapidly boost our investments in such research and development.
Where's my chocolate-covered caramels? I'm in the mood for
all of these approaches have merit. And